Okay, we're in the next continual shot of the
Hmm.
sequence. Um, yeah, hopefully you guys are enjoying this. We're really having a good time, kind of reminiscing and looking back at all the work and thinking about all the stuff that we ended up doing and how it all came together. The next in the sequence, we're basically combining both of these shots into one because they're tied together. It's just one's closer than the other, obviously. This is the original shot from the anime, and
Hmm.
yeah, it's a really cool shot. Do you know why we decided to do this one in particular against everything else?
Maybe it's just so cool, so we want to do it.
Yeah, I think we just love this shot, so we were like, okay, how can we incorporate it? And I think the thing that's you'll notice in this thing as well is we got pretty good at making buildings.
Yes, yes.
And I
You
think
did a lot of good building, so we can just use that.
yeah, and I think we were just trying to be resourceful with it, and I think what we try to avoid was using human characters. I know that's probably what's lacking in there, and that's what we ended up doing at the end. We'll talk about that shot when we get there, but we had the models and we had the texture stuff figured out, and the timeline of things. I think this was pretty close to the other shot, so this is probably middle. It's close to the shot
Yes.
we just talked about, so I think it's probably middle of the year that we started working on this one. And again, I think you really took the reins on this one. I can't remember what was going on. I might have just, I mean, sometimes we both get busy and we kind of bounce back and forth and split the file back and forth. But this one, I think you really took the lead on this shot, which I think it just turned out beautiful. And if you look at the difference between the two, it's really close. You know, I think we try to be as close as possible,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll talk a little bit about the details of that of the all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I remember you modeled the light, put that in there. I remember seeing it in a render. I
Hmm.
was like,
Yes.
man, that's crazy. Like it just looked so great, you know. And again, it was like a there's what's the process usually? I think for us it was like we would make a rough edit. Once we locked the edit, we'd go, okay, now we need to model all this stuff. Then we do modeling. And then from the modeling, we go, okay, now we need to texture everything. We go, okay, texture, and now we need to light everything. Okay, now we need to animate it. And then we need to, and so there's a stage to it. And so a lot of times for the beginning of the film, the tribute, we were stuck in like making models, right? And making models is just kind of horrible experience usually. So it was just us kind of dealing with making models and the frustration that came from that. But at this stage, it was a really great part of it, and it was awesome. And yeah, I
Mhm.
think yeah, it's pretty crazy. And the same animation style, I think you move the lights in front of the camera and then
Yes.
parallax the buildings based on keyframe
Yes.
animation to match it. But yeah, it was yeah, this shot is just really beautiful. Anything else you want to talk about in regards to just this part of the shot itself, like how you got inspired by certain things or any kind of breakthroughs that you had when you were building this one out?
Yeah, I can talk about a little about the texturing part because it's the same. This shot is the same as the previous one we showed you.
Yeah.
Basically, we cannot use the real life texture, real world texture to do it because it cannot fit with the anime. So I've so I ended up with some very unusual way to do some textures like the windows. I built a. I cannot talk too much about the details. It's hard for me to explain it. Basically, I built a lot of I built lots of plan in the building. So so it and I added a lot of um, built lot of night window textures from a website called textures.com and oh man, I cannot explain it. It's too hard.
It is, yeah, it's a complicated process putting all
Yeah,
this
it's
stuff together.
complicated.
Yeah, and I know that. I mean, it's like it's not English isn't your first language, so it's difficult to explain these kind of things. So it's totally fine. But I think what you're trying to get to is that you'd layer and stack them, and you'd
Yeah,
stack them until you got the look that felt more
you
like an
could.
anime rather
Yeah,
than real,
yes,
which is really
exactly.
cool. And that's how you kind of built out the interior. So like this is a a glass texture, and then looking inside the geometry, you'd put this stuff so
Yeah.
it mimicked real light. So when it parallaxed, you could
Yes.
kind of see through it.
Yes.
And that's really that's the special part of this, is trying to find the balance between these things and getting it to work and align, and really kind of, again, paying a real true tribute and an homage to this. And I think the trick with this shot, once we passed the modeling phase, it was a matter of texturing and really getting the textures to work and cooperate together. And I think we employed a lot of different types of textures that we ended up getting, some of them from textures.com, some of them from Grayscale Gorilla. I think some of the textures are probably stuff that we got from Cornelius. Zomex goes by the name Zomex, Zomax.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's his name. But yeah, so big thank you to them for the awesome resources, because it's just, I guess I could go out and take photos of this stuff now, but it's like we could just get it off the internet, and that's really what's awesome about this stuff too. And just trying to keep the render times down too, and being resourceful about it. It's not too bad right now. I'm using 3 GPUs, and it's like a minute per frame on like low res, so we were able to kind of do it pretty naturally and active as we would moving around. But this shot kind of came together pretty quickly, but I think we ended up playing with it a lot, and the lighting changed a lot as we kind of perfected this shot, and it kind of balanced this one between the other shot as well, and trying to make sure that they tied together really well and making it connected together. So, but this shot in the anime, I think, is in the beginning. It's during the bike chase, which is so iconic. Again, it's such a unique part of the film, and just in films in general, it's kind of something that you haven't seen before. And it always struck to me as a young kid. I remember watching this and going like, "Whoa, this is so beautiful and ornate." And yeah, I hope that we did it a proper homage here, because this is another one of those shots. There's a couple of shots in this homage that we try to be as accurate as possible. And obviously the camera, this is hand drawn, so the perspectives are all over the place. So that's probably one of the biggest changes. And also obviously the crop on the aspect ratio is a little bit different, but for the most part we try to match as much as we could to the look of everything too. So, and yeah, I'm super happy with this shot as well. I mean, there's always like, I'm always like, oh, we could change this and change that and stuff. It's like, no, man, it's fine. We just keep moving on. So yeah. Do you want to talk about should we talk about the mid shot now? I think this one. I should also show kind of how chaotic this is. So the naming conventions, and just so you guys get an idea. So I don't have all the files loaded on my PC because I don't want to have them just bogged down with all the other stuff. So I'm going to go in here. I'm going to find this file, for example. So it's in projects in Cinema 4D. We have shots, and then we go to production. And then in here, we have like Neo Tokyo. And inside here, we have a main packaged file that has all the textures and stuff. In this texture file, we have it. It's not ideal. I think we found a good workflow towards the end. But that's actually a good example. What's a really crazy one? I think we just went through one that was really crazy. It was like, was it the flag one? No, it was the one before the flag. Was it destroyed buildings? I can't remember. But here's all the shots so you guys can see too. Like, we had named them, and we tried to keep it as clean and organized as possible. And we used a Google Doc too to keep production aligned. We ended up not even using it towards the end because I think it got depressing, like how many things we had to do. Here's a good example. So like in one of them we had the toys, and then in here we have like all these original files and some just random stuff, and then we'd have iteration files that were packaged, and then we would send them back and forth, and then files inside of files basically. And then files inside of here. So
Yes.
It's like Inception. And I think it's just more or less funny because we were just kind of learning how to pass things back and forth. And for the most part, usually Mike and I as creatives, we usually just work kind of solo or on our own. We have our own practices. But in this one, we had to cooperate and play nice with one another, which is fun. And it's a challenge too, which is it's always fun to kind of pass things back and forth and learn how to make a better pipeline and stuff. But I think this is one thing that's worth showing because it's just, there's so many details. And if you look at this too, there's a lot of shots that we ended up making that we ended up cutting or didn't make the final film, which is kind of cool too, which is just because we wanted to make the best thing possible, and we removed things because it didn't fit the edit. Even if we spent like months on a shot, we were like, nah, it doesn't work well. Just cut it out here. And it was like a kick in the butt, but it's okay though. So it worked out. Let's talk a little bit about this shot right here, because it's just mostly a tighter version of the other one, but there's a couple different things, a couple dynamics that change textures and a couple other things. Because mainly when you get really close to things, you have to be cautious of scale. It's all about scale, like understanding scale. And I think we played with this quite a bit. We would kind of go back and forth until we got the right representation and stuff. And yeah, it was kind of a, yeah, here's a good example, kind of how it looks too. Some of the texturing and stuff, and using the transform node to kind of change and adjust scale on the textures to get it to look right and stuff. And
yes,
yeah, and just passing things back and forth until it looks the way it needs to be, until we're both happy with it, and then we move on to the next one. I will say too, we didn't work in this order. We would kind of just bounce all over the place and go, this shot looks good, I want to try that one, and we would split it up and share and go, oh, what about this, or I'm having difficulty, can you try this on that one? And again, it was just a really great creative experience back and forth. So yeah, it was cool. Anything else you want to mention about this shot?
Yeah, I think that's all. And one thing I want to mention is the fog. There is the fog effect here.
Yeah,
I used the plane like the previous shot I did.
Yep.
Like plane and the sand spheres to mimic that fog effect behind.
Yeah, here's the plane right here. It's we're looking at it from the top.
Yes.
Here's the camera. It's a very long lens camera. You can kind of see the field of view that comes from it. And then yeah, you're using that as a fog cheat basically.
Yes.
And it works. It does a good job. It's just it was really taxing on noise. Basically, you get a lot of noise out of it. I think Octane 4 has an AI denoiser, which I think is gonna help greatly with these kind of things. But unfortunately, we didn't have it during the production of this thing, so we just kind of had to deal with it, which is fine. You know, I'm not complaining. I'm just stating the obvious. So it's pretty amazing that we have these kind of tools and resources at our fingertips, really. So, and I think we try to employ it as much as possible. But that's funny because I think I made a fog volume because I saw your fog and I was like, I hate this thing because it always eats up the render. So I removed it and then I couldn't get a better result. So I was like, let's just turn it back on. So, but yeah, I think it ended up working plenty good. I think this shot, I can't remember if the original, did the anime cut in closer on here? I can't remember if it did or not.
No, this is just I think it was inspired by a original manga.
Oh, was it? I think it was, huh? Like a shot that we saw in a drawing of one of the original drawings.
Yeah, it is a close building shot from manga.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. It was a lot of fun, these shots. And they're all kind of connected between the other shots too. And again, as you can imagine, it's all coming from like the original modeling that comes from original drawings. It's like all a long process to get here, but yeah, we ended up getting here, and I love the results. I think it turned out really great. Yeah.
Yes.
Damn glass too, man. Glass with light bouncing behind glass, through glass. It's like, no matter how long, how high. I mean, we set the samples up to 6,000 here, so you can see it, and it's just, it still had noise in it. Thank goodness for denoising inside of After Effects, because that saved, I think, us a lot on render times and just having a really noisy film at the end. We didn't want to have that. So yeah, that was a little tricky trick. Neat video. Neat video saves lives, everybody. Yeah, and keeps us sane. So, but yeah, those are those two shots. Did you want to talk about anything else in regards to these shots?
Yeah, I think that's all.
Covers it? Yeah, I think it covers it pretty good. Awesome. Cool. Yeah, we'll see you guys on the next video.
See you guys.